What's up YouTube? This is Gresnick and welcome back to another reaction video. Today we'll be reacting to Food Theory. Can energy drinks really be healthy? I'm gonna take a guess. No, they probably aren't. I mean, they're still tasty, so I still like them, but honestly, meh. As always, like and subscribe to the Film Theorist. The wrong one. The Food Theorist. They both start with F, so I get confused. I'm sorry. And let's get into this.
Are bad for you, right? I mean, for as long as I can remember, they've been seen as one step away from toxic sludge reserved for late-night dungeon raids or a last resort for all-nighters in school. But now, the market has been taken over by Celsius and other healthy energy drinks that supposedly burn fat and provide mental clarity, basically make you better. But is it true, or is all of that just high-octane marketing?
Probably.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Food Theory, the show that gives you all of the energy with none of the crash. Sorry. Whew, I'm just a little amped because apparently energy drinks are healthy now. I can't tell you the amount of Red Bulls and Monsters I've knocked back in my life. My early years of college are just a blur of organic chemistry and inorganic drinks fueling my brain and heart and taking them to limits they probably should never have gone to. I knew they weren't good for me. After all, anything that claims to give you wings probably isn't, but they were a necessary evil when regular old coffee just wasn't enough. Since then, time has passed. Technology has gotten better, and the science of making hearts go boom boom with fizzy fizzles has advanced leaps and bounds. Lately, I've been seeing a whole bunch of Celsius commercials on TV. I know what you're saying.
Geez,
Commercials? What? Listen, it's football season, which means 15 seconds of play and 3 minutes of commercials, rinsed and repeated for 3 hours.
Man,
and I've seen this commercial
I keep
no
seeing
less
them.
than 23 times in the past 4 weeks.
First it's cardio, then it's a race against the clock. Refuel. I've got 48 to do in 24.
It's 4:49 a.m. Grab a Celsius, lock in. I've got a goal to hit and a deck to conquer. A party to be the life of and all the essential energy I need to do it.
I mean, look at that. You got a firefighter, a doctor, a goal-conquering professional. These aren't people that'll drink energy sludge like college me. They only drink the best of the best, and Celsius is the only thing for them to be way better than me at life. So it's got me thinking, what's changed? Should I ditch the morning coffee and switch to a cool, crisp energy drink? Or are we all being duped? Energy drinks have been a huge part of the American drinks market ever since Red Bull pushed the concept hard through international marketing starting in the late 90s. They weren't necessarily the first energy drink ever. Japan's Lipovitamin D in the 60s holds that honor, but they definitely became the first to dominate the globe. Diedrich Mateschitz, the co-founder of Red Bull, said that when they first started it, there was no existing market for Red Bull, but Red Bull would create it. And the Austrian business whiz was very right. Fast forward just about 30 years, and the US is spending $23.9 billion on energy drinks every year. That's over a third of the entire $65 billion a year soft drinks market. And don't get me wrong, the classics, Red Bull and Monster, they're still the top dog. But now, healthy energy drinks have them doing the jealous girlfriend meme. Now, before we dive in, we need to get on the same page here, because what is healthy when it comes to food? Health looks different from person to person, so how can we determine what makes a food healthy or not? I mean, an apple, healthy. They even keep the doctor away. Or do they? We did a video, shameless plug. Mega Stuff Oreos? Not so healthy. But what lands them in their categories? Well, according to dietitians, they consider healthy foods ones that are as close to nature as possible. That would mean foods that aren't highly processed or adulterated, aka they don't have anything bad added or good removed. This pretty much removes all energy drinks. But that's no fun, and also kind of misses the point. Healthy is relative. Like, yeah, sure, energy drinks are never going to top any top 10 lists of healthiest foods, but we're asking if Celsius and these healthy energy drinks are healthier than the classic. So we'll be looking at 3 things. Are they beneficial physically for people, beneficial mentally, and how clean are the ingredients? Celsius's whole brand really centers around happy, fit people. It's part of their Live Fit Go campaign. And if that's not an endorsement of physical benefits, I don't know what is. But let's take a closer look at their website. I mean, right there, bam, we see kettlebells, we see studies. One study for each of their supposed health benefits. Burns calories, increases metabolism, pre-workout benefits, and increased response to exercise. All things you're looking for if you're trying to live a healthier lifestyle. And look, whether energy drinks are healthy or not, my health is something I just don't play with. which is why I'm so happy to partner with ZocDoc, today's sponsor yet again. If you don't know ZocDoc, they're a free website that helps you search and compare high-quality doctors for your needs. ZocDoc can help you find the right in-network doctor for you and book your appointment. Ever since we worked with them last time, I knew I wanted to bring them afraid of tongue depressors. Go to ZocDoc.com/foodtheorist or click the link in the description to find a top-rated doctor today. Thank you so much to ZocDoc for sponsoring us. Now let's get back to Celsius. When it comes to burning calories, they're talking about thermogenesis. Thermogenesis is the process of our bodies producing heat, which takes energy, meaning it burns calories. That calorie burn also temporarily ticks up your metabolism. They're pretty much one and the same. The study they cite actually pitted Celsius against Diet Coke and did find that Celsius has more thermogenic properties than Diet Coke. But this should be an obvious duh because a big contributor to thermogenesis, caffeine. And Celsius not only has about quadruple the amount of caffeine, but also some other stimulant ingredients that can help thermogenesis.
Energy drinks really are just
so it's
mega
really no
coffee.
surprise that it would burn more.
That
The
doesn't
question
taste like
is,
coffee.
how does it compare to Red Bull or Monster? Because that's what we want to see. Is it healthier than them? Well, Red Bull has a surprisingly little amount of caffeine, just barely more than a shot of espresso at 114 milligrams in a 12-ounce can. So definitely gives less of a thermogenic effect. But at 160 milligrams per 16-ounce can, it still doesn't reach Celsius's. Not only that, but both Red Bull and Monster have an ungodly amount of sugar that would immediately cancel out the small amount of calories that would be burned through thermogenesis. The sugar-free versions do handle that setback, but still leave them out in the cold compared to Celsius. Now, this is where we get to the bubble bursting, because those extra calories, the study shows that the participants burned an extra 14% for 3 hours after drinking a can. Sounds like a lot. It isn't. Considering the average metabolic rate for an adult male is 1,700 calories a day, that means they burned an extra 10 calories an hour at rest. You could knock that out by standing up, going to get a glass of water, and sitting back down. It's not as impressive as it sounds. Now, the metabolism study is actually interesting. It showed the increase in thermogenesis, which we just covered, but it also showed that Celsius triggered something called lipolysis. Lipolysis is the metabolic process of breaking down stored fat into its components, glycerol and fatty acids, which your body can then use for fuel. So increases your metabolism is a bit vague, but it's definitely catchier than increases FFA concentration. To be fair to Red Bull and Monster, this, again, is triggered mostly by the caffeine. But like we established, more caffeine, more better in these two things. So far, so good. Celsius makes your body burn a couple more calories for the hours after you drink it and breaks down your fat. Yeah. But pause for suspense and for you to click the subscribe button. Suspense over! Breaking down fat doesn't really do much by itself. Here's the thing. The glycerol and fatty acids that come from the broken down fat just go back to being fat if you don't use them. Meaning, if you're just sitting around drinking your Celsius, your fat isn't going anywhere. That said, if you do work out, your body has something to do with that broken down fat. It actually oxidizes it and helps you burn a few more calories in your workout sesh. Again, it's not magic. Not like you'll suddenly burn off that Chipotle burrito, but it adds up and means an extra 100 calories or so on top of what you're burning. The advantage it has over the others here is basically that it has more caffeine. It's a relatively small difference, but hey, doesn't matter whether you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning. Thanks, Vin. That's a check for physical benefits. As far as mental benefits go, this boils down to the caffeine yet again. See, caffeine is proven to improve cognitive performance, your reaction time, your logical reasoning, even your arithmetic, and as you may have experienced, makes you feel less fatigued. It works by blocking the receptors for adenosine. Adenosine is the sleepy molecule. Its job is to slow you down so you don't push your heart or your brain too hard. Caffeine doesn't stop the adenosine from building up, it just clogs your body's adenosine receptors so that for a little bit, your body doesn't realize that it's tired. Basically, it stops you from pressing the brakes. It's all
That's how
gas,
coffee
baby!
works.
For a little. Because once the caffeine wears off, suddenly there's a lot of brakes being pressed. All the brakes. Hence the crash you feel. There's also the fun thing our bodies do, which is adapt. Your brain actually makes more receptors to compensate for the caffeine, which is why you develop a tolerance and need more caffeine over time. When it comes to Celsius and some of these healthy energy drinks, their high caffeine levels aren't the best. See, the upper ceiling of recommended caffeine intake is about 400 milligrams per day. That's just 2 cans. You get too accustomed to drinking Celsius throughout the day, and you might start seeing some adverse effects like stomach problems, heartburn, shakiness, and heart palpitations. No bueno. As far as mental benefits though, as long as you're not pounding 3 back every single day, you're getting as much mental clarity as a couple of Red Bulls or 2 Grande Fraps. It's not necessarily better in this category, but still a check. Which leads us to checking under the hood at the ingredients. One quick glance at the ingredients list, and once you get past the green tea extract, the syllables start piling up. Pyridoxine hydrochloride? There's no way that can be good for you. Thing is, it sounds scary, but it isn't. It's just the specific chemical form of the nutrient they used. In this case, vitamin B6. The FDA here in the USA and the EFSA in Europe actually require companies to disclose what form of the vitamin they're using, because vitamin B would be way too general for legal reasons. So most of those long, complicated names are just vitamin C, B, and B2 through 12. What we really need to hone in on is their sweetener and their caffeine. Unlike Red Bull or Monster's OG offerings, which have about 75% of the recommended value of sugar, meaning 1 can is almost all the sugar you should have in a day, Celsius doesn't use sugar. It uses sucralose. Sugar obviously has serious problems. Too much sugar intake can lead to diabetes, obesity, and heart disease. But it's not like some artificial sweeteners don't have their problems either. Fortunately, sucralose is one that the studies show is pretty safe. Sure, taking too much of it and it can lead to some potential health risks, but if you take it in moderation, generally safe, according to the folks in the FDA. There is one potential drawback. Artificial sweeteners may lead your body to crave more calories. See, in nature, sweet usually means your body is taking in plenty of calories. That was a good thing for our ancestors. With artificial sweeteners, your brain's reward system lights up, but it realizes it didn't take in calories, so it may try and get you hungry for more. Now, the research for that is pretty inconclusive overall, but point is, probably best not to overindulge. Now, caffeine. Caffeine. Where would we be without it? Sleeping. And less jittery probably, but way crankier. Honestly, does it surprise anyone that an episode about energy drinks hinges on caffeine? But it's a fascinating ingredient, mainly because not all caffeine is created equally. See, caffeine at the highest level falls into 2 categories, synthetic and natural. Synthetic caffeine is what you tend to find in sodas like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, while natural caffeine comes from things like coffee beans and green teas. Chemically speaking, they're virtually the same, but synthetic caffeine is absorbed by your digestive system way faster, meaning a quicker jolt, but a quicker crash. And that quicker jolt isn't always good, because the spike could bring on the shakes and palpitations. Not only that, but synthetic caffeine is not well regulated, and the cheap production can lead to corners being cut. Granted, rarely do issues arise from that, but the point stands. Synthetic caffeine probably shouldn't be your go-to. And guess what has synthetic caffeine? The good old classics, Red Bull and Monster Energy. Monster also has some natural sources, but the bulk come from the synthetic part. Red Bull is actually pretty sneaky with this. On their website, they say that caffeine is naturally present in more than 60 plants, which is true, they just don't use it. That's why these two aren't necessarily the best, but they might provide a more immediate pick-me-up for people. Quick tip, the best way to see if a caffeine source is synthetic or not is by checking the ingredients list. If it just says caffeine, likely synthetic. Otherwise, it'll say it's from a natural source. Something like caffeine from green tea or guarana seed extract. Let's take a look at the Celsius ingredients again, shall we? Yep, there it is. Guarana seed extract followed by double gasp! Caffeine? Just caffeine? Meaning it's synthetic? It's true. While Celsius does take caffeine in part from guarana and green tea, there is still some synthetic caffeine in there to hit you quick. Now, the reason why they advertise an all-day energy is because the caffeine from guarana lasts longer. It's bound to the tannins in the plant, so if your body wants that energy, it has to go through them first. It's a slower release. That's also why they may include the synthetic caffeine, for a more immediate effect as opposed to you chugging down a grape energy drink and waiting a couple of hours. But it's still not great that they use that form of caffeine to begin with. There's a reason they try to harp more on their guarana extract. So as far as the ingredients being clean, marginally? At the end of the day, we don't know how much of the 200 milligrams comes from synthetic or natural. And if you're someone that's concerned about your caffeine source, a regular old cup of joe or two is just better. So our first X in the column for Celsius. 2 of the 3 categories is still pretty good. It might have some slight edges over the 2 big dogs in the energy drink space, but is it really healthier? Thing is, despite people seeing their marketing of fit, successful, attractive 20-somethings and assuming it's healthy, Celsius doesn't actually say it is. Yeah, at no point is there a hint that it's the healthier
They
energy
don't break
drink,
the
but we tend to
rules.
see active people in active wear drinking this stuff and
They
assume,
just try to
well, hey,
convince you
gotta
it's
be good
healthy
for me,
by not
right?
telling
Wrong.
you.
But it's also not necessarily bad for you either. It's actually a good drink if you use it correctly, by consuming it about 15 minutes before a moderate or intense workout. Thanks mostly to the thermogenic properties, your
Nice.
body will burn slightly more calories with Celsius than it would naturally, and you will burn slightly more fat. If you're trying to lose weight, it might help give you a tiny nudge in the right direction. They actually emphasize that the beneficial effects happen when you combine it with exercise. However, if you're expecting to down
Makes
a can
sense.
and lose a couple of pounds sitting at your desk, well, don't. As far as the ingredients, while synthetic caffeine sources aren't ideal, if you really hate coffee and green tea, but still need something to get you through the day, having a can isn't the end of the world, especially because it is a low-calorie option. Having a Grande PSL has about as much caffeine with way more sugar. So healthy energy drinks aren't healthy after all. And if you're a bigger fan of zero sugar Red Bull or Monster, follow your taste buds. But if you're trying to hit the gym or burn a tiny amount of extra calories, then go for one of these fit energy drinks like Celsius, as long as you don't overdo it or expect a miracle. But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. Buen provecho. And hey, is Coke healthy now too? Make sure to click.
Nah, it ain't. I reacted to that. Man, alright. More learning about coffee and stuff. Alright, nice. Learning is fun. That's mostly what this channel is just kind of learning about what this stuff you put in your body is. Nice. Well, as always, like and subscribe to the Food Theorist and myself. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.